All right, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always exciting to be back.
Today we're diving into Bryan Daly's The New ABC's Always Be Caring,
Yeah.
and this one is all about closing. But I think it's going to be a little different than what you might expect.
Oh,
So get ready for some surprises.
definitely. One of the things that really stood out to me right away
Okay.
is how this source reframes this whole concept of closing.
Uh-huh.
It kind of takes something that can feel, really pushy
Yeah.
and turns it into an act of, caring.
Yes.
It's like that difference between like forcing a sale
Right.
versus genuinely wanting to help someone.
Yeah, and I thought that was so interesting, especially when they start talking about persistence.
Yeah.
Because it almost celebrates being annoyingly persistent.
Right.
Like they're saying things like, stubbornness is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not rude to keep asking.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, how can being that persistent possibly be a good thing?
It's really pushing the boundaries, I think, to make us think differently.
Yeah.
Because we are so conditioned to avoid being pushy, right?
Oh, yeah.
From childhood, it's like, don't beg, take no for an answer.
Oh, from day one.
Right. But the source is arguing that that's actually what's holding us back.
Huh.
Persistence, when it comes from a place of truly wanting to help,
Okay.
is powerful.
So it's not just being like a bulldog. It's about believing in it so much that you're willing to kind of push past those initial no's.
Right.
Because you really think it will benefit the other person.
Exactly. And they actually use, children as the perfect example.
Oh, interesting.
They haven't learned to be afraid of being persistent yet,
That's true.
Think about a kid who really wants a toy.
Uh-huh.
They'll ask and ask and ask again. And it's not to manipulate. It's because in their mind, that toy equals pure joy.
Right.
And that conviction, that's what gets them what they want.
That reminds me, oh gosh, when I was trying to get my parents to get me a puppy.
I was relentless.
Yeah.
I had presentations and promises to walk it and clean up after it. And I pulled out all the stops and they caved.
You see, that's it right
Yeah.
there. It wasn't just about you getting your way.
Mhm.
You truly believed that that puppy was going to make your life better.
Yeah.
Maybe even your family's life better. And that's what that authentic passion
Yes.
that's contagious.
But how do we, I guess, tap into that childlike closing energy as adults
Yeah.
without, having a meltdown in a meeting or something?
Right.
Like, is this something that we can actually learn to do better?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about reframing persistence as a positive force.
Yeah.
Fueled by genuine belief and, like we said, a desire to help.
Okay.
They talk a lot about aligning your closing with a deeper purpose.
Uh-huh.
When you're truly passionate about what you're offering,
Yeah.
that enthusiasm becomes very persuasive.
Right.
It's not about tricks.
Yeah.
It's about confidently sharing something you believe in. And this is something that I think goes way beyond sales.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they even talk about how these principles, like, communicating clearly, being
Mm-hmm.
confident, handling those no's, that applies to anything that we want to achieve.
Think about like negotiating a raise or, convincing your friends to go on that crazy trip you've been planning
Oh, yeah.
or pitching a creative project.
Yeah.
All of those things require you
Uh-huh.
to be able to articulate your vision, address concerns,
Yeah.
and close the deal, so to
Yeah.
speak, to get people on board.
We're really reframing it from this, icky tactic
Yeah.
into this fundamental communication skill.
Exactly.
That's so interesting. And you know what? Speaking of iconic closing moments,
Okay.
they bring up that line from Glengarry Glen Ross, "Coffee is for closers."
Of course.
But then they have this really unique twist where they offer 12 specific tips for improving your closing skills.
Yes. And some of these are surprisingly counterintuitive.
Oh, really?
Like they talk about staying seated during a negotiation,
Okay.
even if the other person stands up.
Oh, interesting.
Now, you'd think that would put you at a disadvantage,
Yeah.
but they actually say it's a power move.
Okay, so wait, why would that matter?
Well, it's about maintaining control.
Okay,
You don't want to let the other person dictate the pace or the energy.
gotcha.
Standing up can be seen as, like, this power play,
Yeah.
an attempt to create, like, urgency.
Right.
But by staying seated,
Huh.
you're projecting this calm confidence. It's like, I'm not going to be pressured.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
It is kind of like this mental game of chess almost.
It is. It is.
Then they talk about eye contact and smiling,
Right.
and I'm like, okay, those seem basic, but
They are basic.
maybe overlooked. Right.
They are basic, but they're often overlooked, especially when we're nervous or focused on getting our point across.
Right.
And the source is really reminding us that building trust and rapport is absolutely key.
Okay.
And those nonverbal cues
Mm-hmm.
are huge EE.
Yeah.
Eye contact shows you're engaged. It shows you're sincere. A genuine smile makes you approachable.
It's like they say, people might not remember what you said,
Yeah,
but they'll remember how you made them feel.
exactly.
And that feeling comfortable and connected is so essential
I
when
mean-
you're trying to get someone on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. And another tip that I thought was really interesting was always carry a pen.
Okay. What's the significance of that? I was wondering about that one too.
It's about being ready to close the deal at any moment.
Okay.
Having that pen ready signals confidence in the outcome,
Oh, interesting.
readiness to move forward. It's, again, a subtle way of creating momentum.
Yeah.
Shows the other person that you're serious.
I can see that. It's like when they pull out the contract, they're like, all right, let's make this official. It creates that urgency. Okay. So then what about when they hesitate or they start throwing out objections? How do we handle that?
Well, they have a really interesting take on that.
Okay.
They say you should treat all objections as complaints
Okay.
until they're validated.
Oh,
So basically, don't assume a no is a definite no,
okay. Yeah.
right? It's an opportunity to understand their concerns and address them.
So really kind of dig into what the root of it is
Yeah.
and then tailor your response to address that.
Precisely. And again, this ties back to the caring aspect we talked about earlier.
Huh.
By genuinely listening and addressing their objections thoughtfully, you're showing that you value their input
Right.
and that you want to find a solution that works for both of you.
It's amazing how it all connects.
It does. It does.
You know, the persistence, the caring,
Yeah.
the clear communication, these specific techniques, it all comes together to
Mm.
create this approach to really achieving goals.
Yeah. It's like a recipe for success.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll dive into some more of these really fascinating tips.
And one of the biggest ingredients, I think, in this recipe
Okay.
is this emphasis on belief.
Oh, interesting.
The source really argues that if you don't believe in what you're offering,
Yeah.
that's a major roadblock.
Right.
It's like trying to sell a car you wouldn't drive yourself.
Right.
Nobody's buying it.
No, you can tell, right?
Yeah.
If you're not convinced, it's going to show.
All right.
And it's going to be impossible to get anyone else excited about it.
Think about a time when you knew that someone was just going through the motions,
Yeah.
didn't really believe in what they were selling.
Yeah.
Were you compelled to buy?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when someone's really passionate about something,
Yes.
it makes you lean in.
Totally.
You want to be part of it.
Yeah. Makes you want to learn more.
Exactly. And they don't stop there.
Hmm.
They even talk about an urgent approach to closing. And they use this anecdote of like a $30 book sale
Okay.
to illustrate the point.
Okay.
Now, you might think, what's the big deal about a $30 sale?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But it's not about the amount. It's about creating momentum,
Gotcha.
even with those smaller wins.
That reminds me of that getting things done feeling.
Yeah,
You know, it's so satisfying to check something off the list.
exactly. And even those small wins
Yeah.
really build confidence and keep you moving forward.
Yeah. And they even say that urgency is not about being pushy. It's about seizing those opportunities
Yes.
and kind of fostering decisiveness.
Exactly.
So it is about being proactive,
Yes.
taking that initiative,
Mm-hmm.
and not letting those opportunities pass you by.
Yeah, it's that go-getter attitude
Yeah.
that really separates,
Mm-hmm.
those who achieve from those who just dream.
And then it circles back to that persistence. It's
Yeah.
not just one and done. It's about continually
Mhm.
pursuing those goals, even when you hit a roadblock.
And believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And your ability to achieve what you set out to do.
Yes.
Even when it's challenging.
And they have some really insightful tips
Okay.
on how to kind of cultivate that belief
Mm.
and then translate that into action.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love this idea of reframing that persistence
Yeah,
as a form of caring.
right.
You know, it really does challenge that
Sure.
traditional view of sales, and it really presents it
Yeah.
as this way of connecting with others and
Mm.
sharing something that you believe in.
It flips the script.
It does.
Instead of a battle of wills,
Right.
it becomes this collaborative effort
Yeah.
where both parties benefit.
And it brings us back to those 12 tips,
Yes.
which have been full of surprises. They're not what you would
Yeah.
expect, like those high-pressure tactics.
No.
It's
So-
more
so
about,
They're really about setting the stage for a successful close,
Okay.
about building trust
Mm-hmm.
and projecting confidence.
All right, so let's dig into a few more.
Okay.
Because I think these are going to be real aha moments for people.
I think so too.
So we've already talked about staying seated,
Right.
the eye contact, smiling,
Mm-hmm.
always having a pen. What else jumped out at you?
Well, there's one that might seem obvious at first.
Okay.
Communicate clearly.
Right, yeah.
But they really dig deeper into that.
Okay.
It's not just about using the right words.
Uh-huh.
It's about conveying your message with conviction
Okay.
and making sure that the other person understands why it matters to them.
So tailoring it to who you're talking to, speaking their language,
Yeah.
addressing those specific concerns.
And you know what? That ties back to the caring aspect.
Right.
Clear communication shows respect.
Yes.
It shows you value their time.
Yeah.
You want them to be fully informed.
Uh-huh. And then another one that I thought was interesting was about using humor.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I can see how a well-placed joke or even just a funny story could lighten the mood.
Yeah.
But isn't there a risk of seeming unprofessional?
There's always that risk.
Yeah.
But they argue that humor, when it's used appropriately,
Okay.
can be a really powerful tool for building rapport.
Okay.
And it's not about telling cheesy jokes.
Right.
It's about finding those moments of levity
Mm-hmm.
that are relevant to the conversation.
Yeah.
And help you connect with the other person on a human level.
So reading the room, gauging their sense of humor, and using it strategically.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Good. And then they also talk about treating every prospect
Yes.
as a buyer,
Yeah.
regardless of, that initial hesitation or the objections they might have.
Absolutely.
So it's about seeing that potential
Yeah.
in every single interaction, believing that a deal can be made, even if it's not obvious right away.
It's like choosing to see the glass half full.
It is,
Yeah. And by approaching every prospect with that positive expectation,
Okay.
you might be surprised how often it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Your belief in the possibility of closing
Uh-huh.
is going to influence your behavior,
Yeah.
make you more persuasive
Right.
and more likely to succeed.
There's that saying, whether you think you can or can't, you're right.
Exactly.
So your mindset really shapes
Yes.
what happened.
Your reality.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another really practical tip that they had was about getting things in writing.
Oh, okay.
Now, this might seem like a no-brainer in a sales context,
Yeah,
but it really applies to other areas of life too.
it does.
It creates clarity, accountability.
Yeah.
When you put things in writing, it solidifies the agreement,
Right.
prevents misunderstandings.
Yeah.
There's a record of what was discussed.
Eliminates that he said, she said.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can also serve as a reminder
Yeah.
of those commitments.
Yeah.
Helps ensure that everyone follows through.
So we're not just talking about, contracts and stuff. We're talking about, documenting those agreements, outlining the plans,
Sure.
making sure you're on the same page.
Creating that shared understanding.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then finally, they emphasize maintaining a positive attitude
Okay.
even when you face setbacks or you encounter, negativity from the other person.
Right.
So it's about not letting that negativity throw you off course.
Right.
It's about staying focused on the goal
Yeah.
and always looking for ways to turn those challenges into opportunities.
Yes. It's that resilience.
Exactly. And here's where the caring element comes in again.
Right.
If you genuinely care
Mm.
about the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
about helping the other person,
Yeah.
that's going to fuel your persistence.
Yes.
It's going to help you overcome those obstacles.
Right. It's believing in that win-win.
Exactly.
And putting in the effort to make it happen.
Exactly. And that's really the essence of the new ABCs. Always be caring.
Uh-huh.
It's about approaching closing, not as a tactic,
Right.
but as this collaborative process,
Okay.
driven by genuine concern for the other person's well-being.
Wow. It's a different way of looking at it.
It is.
It can transform how we approach not just sales, but all these interactions in our lives.
Absolutely.
These negotiations.
All kinds.
Yeah, so many different situations. And it all starts with
It all starts with realizing that closing isn't just about getting what you want.
Right.
It's about helping others get what they need.
Right. And it's about creating that value, building those relationships.
Exactly.
Making a positive impact.
And speaking of impact,
Okay.
they make this fascinating point about urgency.
Yeah.
Using that example of that $30 book sale.
Right. Right.
It might seem trivial,
Right.
but the idea is that treating every opportunity, no matter how small,
Yeah.
with a sense of regency.
Can actually be incredibly powerful.
I love that example
Yeah.
because it really challenges that idea that urgency is only for those big ticket items.
Right.
It's about building that habit
Yes.
of closing quickly and efficiently,
Yeah.
even on those smaller transactions.
Exactly. Yeah, and the source points out a few key benefits to this approach.
Okay.
The first is that it, creates momentum.
Okay.
Each closed deal, no matter how big or small, builds confidence.
Okay.
Gives you that I can do this feeling.
It's like, those small wins kind of pave the way
Yeah,
for
exactly.
those bigger victories.
Exactly. And then second, it fosters, decisiveness.
Okay.
So by acting quickly, you're not getting bogged down
Right.
in procrastination or overthinking, which can be real momentum killers.
Yeah, it's like ripping off the Band-Aid.
Exactly. Just do it, get it over with. And then third, this urgent approach really helps overcome that fear of rejection,
So, the more you put yourself out there, the more those no's just become a normal part of the process.
Right.
And it frees you up to pursue those opportunities more boldly.
Yeah, it's like you build up a resistance to it almost.
Exactly. And the source really argues that this is crucial for developing that confidence and persistence that you need to become like a truly effective closer.
It's not just about rushing through things just to be efficient.
So,
it's about using it as a tool to grow.
Exactly. It's about personal growth.
Yeah. Who knew that that closing a $30 book sale
I know, right?
could have such a profound impact?
Yeah. It's all connected.
It is.
And, it brings us back to the core message of, this whole deep dive.
Okay.
Closing isn't just this sales tactic.
Yeah.
It really is this fundamental life skill.
Right.
It can help you achieve anything you set your mind to.
It's about really, taking charge of what you want, communicating clearly, addressing concerns, going after it.
And caring enough about those goals to
Yes.
persist even when you face, those obstacles and the rejection.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess to kind of wrap things up, what area of your life could benefit from this more confident and persistent approach?
I love that question. And, as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into the new ABCs, always be caring, I want to leave you with that question. What area of your life could benefit from being a little bit more confident and persistent? Where can you close the deal on a goal or dream that you've been putting off?
Maybe it's finally asking for that raise.
Yes.
Or launching that side hustle you've been thinking about, or even just having that tough conversation that you've been avoiding. And remember all those tips that we unpacked today. They're not just for sales, they're for life.
That's right. And remember, closing is not about manipulation or pressure. It's about clarity, confidence, and truly wanting to create that win-win situation for everybody involved.
It's about believing in yourself, believing in what you're offering, and having the courage to go after those goals. So go out there and close the deal on whatever it is you're passionate about. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.